The story begins with a breathtaking night view of a beautiful city in the USA, where a man named James sits inside his car, quietly waiting for someone. The city lights reflect on his windshield, but his calm moment doesn't last long. Soon, he realizes that another vehicle is following him. Tension builds as he drives into a parking lot, searching for the person he is supposed to meet. However, before he can understand what is happening, gunshots suddenly ring out, leaving him completely stunned. The scene then shifts to a day earlier. We are introduced to Frankie, an inmate who is finally released from prison after serving a 10-year sentence. Outside the prison gates, his friends are waiting to pick him up. They drive him straight to their boss, Ray, who is clearly displeased with Frankie's current situation and immediately starts questioning him about his brother. At the same time, we are shown James, who works as a mechanic at an automobile repair shop. While busy with his work, he notices a familiar face, Emily, a dispatcher from the police department. James approaches her and learns that she has brought her car in for repairs. It becomes clear that James and Emily share a history and know each other very well. As they talk and reminisce about old memories, James suggests that instead of paying the expensive garage service fee, he could fix her car at her home for less money. Luckily for him, Emily agrees. Later that evening, James returns home, but his peace is disturbed when he hears strange noises coming from his backyard. He cautiously steps outside to investigate and is shocked to see Frankie standing there. Frankie is upset and hurt because despite being released after 10 long years, James didn't come to receive him at the prison. Anger quickly rises between the brothers. James, filled with frustration, scolds and even beats Frankie, blaming him for dragging him into trouble years ago and ruining his life. But after the emotional outburst, forgiveness takes over, and the bond between the brothers slowly resurfaces. The next day, James goes to Emily's house to fix her car. Deep down, he hopes to impress her and possibly rekindle their past romance. While working on the car, he deliberately takes his time, wanting to spend more moments with her. He tells Emily that the car has several issues and may take a few more days to repair. Emily, fully aware of his intentions, chooses to give him that time. The following day, dressed neatly and full of hope, James visits a bank to apply for a loan. His dream is to open his own auto repair shop. Unfortunately, his hopes are crushed when the bank representative informs him that they no longer provide small business loans. Disappointed and heartbroken, James later meets Frankie at a bar and shares the bad news over drinks. At the bar, Frankie apologizes for involving James in a crime in the past that resulted in James serving a 16-month sentence. Frankie also opens up about the harsh and torturous challenges he faced during his 10 years in prison. He claims that he has completely changed and expresses gratitude toward 2 fellow inmates who helped him survive. He admits that he now owes them a huge favor. Frankie then presents James with a proposal for a major venture and stresses that they need his help. However, James, who wants nothing more than a simple and honest life, firmly refuses. He urges Frankie to stay away from trouble. In response, Frankie insists that the plan is legitimate and explains that they are planning to start a real estate business with investors ready to put in money. To prove his point, Frankie takes James outside to meet his so-called business partners. Outside the bar, James meets Ray and Sugar. They request a ride from James so they can discuss future plans on the way. As James drives, Frankie proudly talks about his brother's talent with cars and his passion for fixing them. Suddenly, Ray, Sugar, and Frankie ask James to stop the car. They step out and tell him to wait while they meet with investors inside a building. Feeling uneasy, James questions Frankie, but Frankie reassures him that everything is fine and encourages him to follow instructions. However, when the group takes too long to return, James becomes suspicious. He steps out of the car and walks through the parking lot to check on them. That is when gunshots echo through the area, shocking him completely. It turns out to be the same scene shown at the beginning of the movie. Frankie and the gang spot James and angrily question why he left the car. They quickly order him back inside, and the group speeds away from the scene. Unfortunately, a police patrol car begins chasing them. A high-speed chase follows, and James uses his driving skills to successfully evade the police, saving everyone from being caught. Despite escaping, James is furious. He realizes that they have dragged him into a crime without his consent. After things settle down, Ray coldly insists that James' car must be destroyed because the police might have identified it. Devastated at the thought of losing his beloved car, James returns home and begins packing, deciding to leave the city rather than see his car destroyed. At that moment, Frankie arrives and tries to explain that he had no idea a murder would take place. James, deeply disappointed, tells Frankie that within just 2 days of being released, he has already been involved in murder, and he doesn't want a brother like that. Suddenly, Ray and Sugar arrive. They forcefully stop James from leaving and take away his car keys. Knowing James is struggling financially, Ray offers him a chance to earn money by helping them with another criminal act. James refuses without hesitation. In response, Ray threatens to kill Frankie if James does not cooperate. Now James realizes that his brother has dragged him into hell, and there is no easy way out. The next day, Frankie takes James to the gang's base. There, James understands that these men are ruthless criminals capable of killing anyone without hesitation. Ray lays out a city map and explains their plan to rob a bank. He assigns James a crucial role, stealing 4 different vehicles to create distractions across the city. The chaos will give them exactly 5 minutes to execute the bank heist and escape. After hearing the full plan, James once again declares that he wants no part in this mission. But as he tries to leave, Frankie stops him. He warns James that the gang is extremely dangerous and could harm not only them, but also Emily. Hearing Emily's name leaves James stunned. He demands to know how they know about her. Frankie, ashamed, admits that while drunk, he revealed details about James and Emily's relationship to the gang. And just like that, James realizes that this is no longer only about crime or money. It has now become personal. James becomes furious, realizing that his brother has not only endangered his own life, but also the life of the girl he loves. Overcome with guilt, Frankie desperately tries to defend himself. He opens up about the horrifying trauma he endured during his 10 years in prison. He reveals that he suffered brutal physical abuse and assault, and that the torture was so unbearable he even thought about ending his own life just to escape it. According to Frankie, Ray and Sugar were the ones who saved him during his darkest moments, and because of that, he feels deeply indebted to them. He also admits that there is a strong chance the gang might kill him after the robbery to eliminate loose ends, but he pleads with James to help him, believing that only his brother can save him. However, James, overwhelmed and heartbroken, walks away with tears streaming down his eyes. In the next scene, James is seen working on Emily's car, asking her to hand him the toolbox. During this simple interaction, their connection grows stronger, and the romantic tension between them blossoms beautifully. They enjoy each other's company, laughing and sharing moments that feel genuine and warm. The following morning, James takes Emily on a date in a borrowed car, trying to create a perfect memory with her. Unbeknownst to them, Sugar secretly follows their car, keeping a watchful eye on their movements. After the date, James drops Emily off at her workplace, the police station where she works as a dispatcher. Later, while James and Frankie spend some time together, Frankie gifts his brother a stolen car. Although James doesn't like the color of the vehicle, he decides to take it for a ride anyway. Their brief moment of peace is suddenly interrupted when Ray and Sugar summon them to a graveyard. There, Frankie is brutally beaten as Ray and Sugar vent their anger on him. They accuse him of hiding the fact that Emily is a police dispatcher. Frankie insists that he genuinely had no idea about her profession, but Ray and Sugar remain suspicious. They warn both brothers to keep a close watch on Emily from now on. After returning home, James and Frankie begin reminiscing about their past, and a painful truth surfaces. A decade ago, they were imprisoned for killing a police officer. Frankie confesses that he took that step for the sake of the family. He further admits that he intentionally sabotaged Emily's car by putting sugar in it. His plan was to bring James and Emily closer so that someone would be there to love and care for his brother while he was behind bars. However, he claims he never imagined that Ray and Sugar would later use this information against them. James, realizing that Frankie is the only family he has left, forgives him once again and quietly walks away. Later that evening, James visits Emily's house and finds her preparing dinner. With a heavy heart and visible pain in his eyes, he tells her that they should end their relationship. He is doing this to protect her from the dangerous gang threatening his life. Emily becomes furious, accusing James of playing with her emotions. She blames his reckless brother for everything that has gone wrong and demands that James leave immediately. She also insists that he take the money for the car repairs. Speechless and shattered, James walks out and stands outside her gate, crying silently. The next day, Emily resumes her job as a police dispatcher, unaware of the storm that is about to unfold. Meanwhile, the gang begins executing their carefully planned bank robbery. As part of their strategy, a red car explodes on the roadside, forcing Emily to report the incident. At the same time, multiple other explosions take place across the city, keeping the police force and dispatchers extremely busy. The diversions are successful, clearing the roads and distracting law enforcement. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ray and the gang move toward the bank for the final heist. Upon arrival, Frankie and Sugar storm inside the bank, guns raised. They force everyone inside, staff and customers alike, to kneel on the floor, turning them into hostages. While Frankie and another gang member named Spoonie control the crowd, Ray and Sugar take the bank manager aside and demand that he open the security vault. Initially, the manager claims he does not have access to the codes. However, when Ray points a gun at his head, he is forced to comply and opens the vault. In a shocking turn, Ray shoots and kills him despite his cooperation. The gang quickly begins emptying the vault, with Ray and Sugar managing the stolen cash, while Frankie oversees the tellers. Outside the bank, a woman notices something suspicious. She sees James and a masked Frankie signaling in a strange manner and senses that a robbery is in progress. She immediately rushes to alert the police. Frankie also realizes that the woman may have identified him and urgently tells Ray and Sugar to hurry. As soon as the robbery alert reaches the police station, Emily swiftly dispatches multiple police units to the bank. At the same time, James, who is part of the heist group, hears the dispatch order through his radio. He exits the van and rushes inside the bank, urging the gang to leave immediately. Unfortunately, Ray and Sugar take too long collecting the cash. By the time they prepare to escape, the police have already surrounded the building. To make matters worse, Spoonie betrays the group by driving away alone in the van, abandoning everyone else inside the bank. Chaos erupts. A police officer positions himself near a window and is about to shoot James, but Frankie notices just in time and shoots the officer first, saving his brother. A fierce exchange of gunfire breaks out between the police outside and the robbers inside. During the crossfire, Frankie is shot and collapses to the ground in panic. Ray tries to calm Frankie, assuring him that they will escape safely. He orders James to exit through a second door and steal another car for their getaway. With no other choice, James follows the command and successfully steals a nearby vehicle, bringing it to the front of the bank. Ray and Sugar manage to get into the car using a hostage as a shield, but Frankie, severely injured, is unable to stand and remains inside. When James asks about his brother, Ray coldly tells him to drive away without Frankie. James refuses to abandon him. He steps out of the car and runs back into the bank. In his absence, Ray takes the driver's seat and speeds off with Sugar, chased by police vehicles. Inside the bank, James and Frankie discuss their desperate situation. Frankie apologizes for dragging James into this nightmare and fears that they may not survive. Seeing how badly injured his brother is, James takes an elderly woman hostage and warns the police to stay back. He then tries to treat Frankie's wounds and urges him to surrender rather than die. However, Frankie refuses. He declares that he would rather die than return to the brutal and torturous life of prison once again. Meanwhile, as Ray speeds down the road in a desperate attempt to escape, a police helicopter begins pursuing him from above. Determined not to be captured, Ray fires his weapon at the helicopter and manages to shoot the pilot, causing the aircraft to lose control and crash. Despite this drastic move, the police do not back down. Patrol units continue chasing him relentlessly, and eventually, Ray is shot and killed in the middle of the road. At the same time, Sugar is also tracked down by the authorities and killed, leaving only James and Frankie alive from the gang. Back at the bank, the situation remains tense. A police sniper positions himself on the rooftop of a building directly opposite the bank, carefully aiming and waiting for the right moment. Inside, Frankie looks at James with deep regret and apologizes for stealing his childhood and ruining his youth. In a sudden and shocking move, Frankie punches James hard in the face, knocking him unconscious and causing his nose to bleed. He then forces one of the hostages to help him change James' clothes, dressing him like a hostage instead of a robber. It becomes clear that Frankie has made a final decision. He plans to sacrifice himself so that the police will mistake James for a hostage and try to rescue him. While James remains unconscious, Frankie drags him outside at gunpoint. As they step out of the bank, Frankie deliberately moves away from his brother, creating a clear line of sight for the sniper. Within seconds, the sniper fires, and Frankie is killed with a headshot. Emily, watching the live coverage on television, is horrified as she recognizes both James and Frankie on the screen. Shocked and devastated by Frankie's death, James is taken to an ambulance for medical treatment. However, when the paramedic begins examining him and opens his clothes, he discovers a bulletproof vest hidden underneath. Realizing that James is not a hostage but one of the robbers, the paramedic prepares to alert the police. Before he can inform his colleagues, James suddenly attacks him and manages to escape from custody. Later, the paramedic reports the incident to the police station and Emily acknowledges his concern. However, she chooses not to dispatch any officers to pursue James. Instead, she quietly leaves her office. The story concludes with James walking away from the chaotic scene, physically unharmed but carrying the weight of everything that has happened. If you love the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful story breakdowns like this. Thanks.